Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again. So today in this video, I'm going to give you guys a common build that you guys have seen. It's going to be the Poison Bladefall Trapper, as you guys all know. However, we're going to do a little bit of a twist on it, and some of my viewers were asking me to try out Poison Ice Trap, where it's essentially the exact same build as the Poison Trapper. The only thing you do is you pick up, like, Method of Madness and Atrophy. That's it. There's nothing else that changes. And the reason for that is because whereas Bladefall does pure physical, and only would only be affected by chaos damage one time for the poison, Ice Trap's different because what we're doing with Ice Trap is actually converting all the ice damage over to chaos, utilizing dual-wielding Consuming Darks where 50% of your fire is converted to chaos, which is actually cool because you get a ton of int, so all your int requirements are knocked out as well, and by using Pyre. Now this is a bit gimmicky and you are sacrificing 2 pieces of gear. We're still on projection for about 6k life, a little bit less, but I am using a belly right now. But with the belly I could still hit 6,000 life if I modified some gear around and picked up some more life. I think I have life over here to pick up. We'll see. But I wanted to show you guys a little bit of what it does because, you know, if you're running at Zeri, you only need 5k life anyway. It's not like you really need much. So I've got a simple little T7 waste pool here to throw in. Now, I haven't really played too much with this character yet, so I will be slacking just a little bit, but we are running Ink AoE, Cluster Trap, Trap and Mine, Ice Trap, Void Manipulation. That is our current 5-link. You could swap around with a couple things. Obviously, Conk Effect would be an insane damage multiplier, but we don't have that right now. And ideally as well, you would want to use, instead of Grace, you would want to use Enfeeble. The same exact way we did on the Poison Trapper. I just been playing so many characters, I don't really have enough time to get everything set up properly, you know? The build actually does an insane amount of damage, and speaking of insane damage, and on the topic of deeps, with the Poison Trapper, I will apologize because I called a lot of people retarded, and I didn't know why, because, no offense, but people don't explain the reasons behind some things. Where basically, if you use a Consuming Dark and you just dual wield it, so you use a Benos and a Consuming Dark, you save out an entire support gem. So if you want more damage, you just use a Consuming Dark instead of a shield. And that frees up the poison support gem. On my stream, people keep asking me, like, Pohx, why don't you use Consuming Dark in your Poison Trap? I'm like, I don't know, why would I want to convert fire damage to chaos? And they're just like, I don't know, I just thought it would be good. And I'm like, no. No, it's not.
Might I unburden you of
Well, next sanctum, I'll take that. See if I can show you guys some of the single target here, if I can pull up to a boss. Oh, boss! Where art thou? I think it's actually right here. Alright, so here's the double boss. Not too bad. I mean, that was without my Zeri's promise, so I thought it did pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the performance and the damage of this character. Now, granted, these are level 20 gems, so that is definitely part of you know, where the damage comes from. But it still has a lot of damage to scale on the tree, and you know, you've got more frenzy charges to pick up and the potential for a 6-link. So the damage is definitely there, and it's good. It does the deeps, you know. It's a little bit squishy, but that's okay. It still works. My biggest issue with Poison Bladefall and why I kind of wanted to veer towards Ice Trap is simply because of Bladefall's cooldown. Even if you use a cooldown recovery, it still pisses me off. But I think if I had to pick a build, I would rather pick Poison Bladefall over this, and I would just dual wield to save an extra support gem. And in that support gem, I would definitely have the trap cooldown recovery. It's just because my biggest issue with Ice Trap is it doesn't feel as consistent because the AoE is very small on it, whereas Bladefall naturally has a much larger AoE. And due to the fact that it has a larger AoE, it doesn't have this issue where sometimes one monster stays alive. But I will say Cluster Trap helps fix that with Ice Trap a lot. And it helps fix that with a lot of trap builds in general. So this patch is definitely, you know, Ascendancy was a huge buff for trappers overall. And of course you could make up that issue by running like a Carcass, or by just placing mines down like I'm doing now for the, you know, snapshot for 7-sword AoE. Your bandits are going to be same thing as all my other builds. It's going to be Oak, Kill, and then Creighton. For people who are curious about bandit rewards, might as well just take a section out and explain a little bit about it. If you're playing a life-based build, pick up Oak. If you don't pick up Oak, you're stupid. Alright, let's move on. If you're in Cruel difficulty and you want to get extra deeps, you can go ahead and pick one up, but it makes no difference. Bandit rewards are essentially like, the value between them is essentially worth 1 point. So if you want to get extra damage, pick up the Bandits in Cruel. I typically would not recommend it because that 1 point could be putting you 1 point closer to a life node, could be putting you 1 point closer to a jewel, they could be putting you 1 point closer to a cluster. So I don't really ever take the Bandits in Cruel. The only exception to that rule is Creighton, I think, has 8% attack speed. 8% attack speed is a decent amount. That's the only thing I would say. It's like, it's okay if you get it. I'm not really going to judge you. But even so, for the most part, I would typically veer away from Bandits and Cruel. When you get to Merciless, it works like this. If you want crit, you help Alira. If you want to tank, you help Oak. If you want damage, you go Creighton. If you don't want either of them, don't help anyone. You know, if your build doesn't use charges, then you don't help anyone. And this should apply to pretty much everything in the entire game. Yeah. The only, again, there are very minor exceptions, such as like, if you're playing a really niche low life build that uses 65 uniques, then sometimes you'll actually help Creighton in normal to get the resistances you normally couldn't. But that doesn't happen often, and if you're in that scenario, then you already know what you need. So let's talk about what is required to get this specific character going. You're gonna need 2 Consuming Darks, a Pyre Ring, and that's it. Once you get 2 Consuming Darks and a Pyre, and I guess even a 5 Link, you could run without Ink AoE though, your build is ready to go, and it does damage. It's kind of squishy, because you're not using a shield, and you're sacrificing a ring. Those are the 2 big things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Remember, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And if you guys want to see my exact character gear, just go to my twitch.tv/Pohx, type in !profile, look at the character Pohx Kappa, and it's all there for you boys, alright? Hope you guys have a wonderful time, and stay classy, everybody.